Hello and welcome to STARCAST from Planet Waves. Today's edition is for Thursday, the 27th of July, 2023. I'm Eric Coppolino, the host of Planet Waves FM on Pacifica Radio and the author of the Planet Waves Horoscope. The monthly horoscope is out as of today, or it will be shortly, depending on when you're hearing this. And I've got a new essay called Summoning the Curious, in which I do my best to guide my readers below the surface of the discussion of global warming and certain other essential issues that I am certain are basically being used as scrims and as distractions for much more important environmental issues. And we're not being told the truth about what is actually causing global warming, this so far as I can tell. Also, tomorrow on Planet Waves FM, we'll have a very unusual edition that will include the whole discussion of Joe Mercola. I know many of you read or have read him, having all of his bank accounts, corporate, and his executives and their wives and their children basically shut down by Chase Bank. We know this has happened. It is a very odd and unusual thing, and we are doing our best to figure it out. And I am reaching out to all of the best analysts I know and trying to put together a line of approach to covering this story, which has a lot of kind of odd and unusual twists and turns. More on that on Planet Waves FM on Friday night. I'm here today to talk about the Aquarius full moon, which takes place in just a few days. It seems like it was the new moon a minute ago. The full moon takes place on August 1st. That's a Tuesday at 2:31 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. Again, it's on Tuesday the 1st at about 2:30 in the afternoon. And this is a peak chart of our Leo season here in 2023. And I'd like to tell you about some of the unusual things about this chart. First of all, we have probably the most exact major event that will take place with Pluto and the lunar nodes in a square. Now, this is a little bit subtle on one level. The lunar nodes are this thing that is not a thing. They're these kind of energy points that transit retrograde around the zodiac every 18 years. They cycle around, and one of the things they tell us is where solar and lunar eclipses are going to happen. And the other thing that they do is they provide kind of a nodal point in the zodiac in any chart or any chart of an event that runs through the chart, sometimes feeling like a gust of wind, sometimes like a wind tunnel, and then at other times it can feel like a digestive tract that is processing karma and turning it into right action. So they have a number of different kind of spiritual effects, and not surprisingly, the lunar nodes are difficult for many people to figure out because they're not really very good interpretations of them. They're all a little bit heavy-handed, and it's all quite subtle. So the fact that the nodes are square Pluto, they move quicker. So you give the quick, in the syntax of an astrology sentence, the quicker point precedes the slower point. So it's lunar nodes square Pluto, sometimes said Pluto square the nodes. And the thing to know about the nodes with a square to them is that the nodes represent an ongoing experiential process. And it is very much about a sense of movement through something, perhaps you, or a situation. And when there's something at 90 degrees to the nodes, that's indicated in yellow on this chart. It's maybe a little bit faint, but you can see it. Pluto's sort toward the bottom, 28 Capricorn, and the nodes are 28 Libra Aries. And when there's something square the nodes, that thing must be addressed or the nodes don't work. So you can think of it as being right on the nodes. You could just move Pluto up right to the middle of that crazy spirograph-ish kind of asymmetrical spirograph-ish kind of a pattern, and imagine Pluto sitting right in the middle of the nodes. And so if you want to have any movement or progress, you're going to have to deal with Pluto. What's Pluto? Pluto is engaging the evolutionary impulse. Pluto is addressing the very deepest questions of life that pertain to sex and death and transformation and everything that surrounds those things. And they are about taking growth process seriously. Now, Pluto has retrograded back into Capricorn. That's partly why this can be happening. So Pluto is retrograded back into Capricorn. And one thing that tells us is that we are in this vast collective moment, the collective moment being the Pluto return of the United States, or we could say the Pluto return of the revolutionary era in the late 18th century that began with the United States Declaration of Independence, and then many other events and developments followed that. And so we are in this moment that's almost too big to see and too big to imagine, and that is the entire concept of the United States, this idea that we had about it, this idea that the United States was a free country, that it was an experiment in populism, that it was a place where that everyone had some form of an equal opportunity, is now being seen as the kind of a sham that it is, as the country melts into a kind of banana republic and blatant oligarchy. And so there were times in the past where things were certainly a lot worse, worse than they are today, and there are times when they were a lot better. Our whole period of, let's say, post-World War II prosperity that most of us grew up in, like, let's say, 1945 through around the mid-1990s. That's a 50-year, is that right? 50-year period where, things economically were pretty good for most of that time, and people could afford things. And now there's this massive upward surge in wealth, and kind of a billionaire born every minute, along with a couple of million poor people born every minute. So that is this thing that we are all going through, and it's not really being addressed. We're not talking about this. I mean, and astrology is not taken seriously outside the realm of astrology, but even among astrologers who have become a rather woke bunch, not really asking real questions, right? The whole theme of woke is all that we avoid, all that is taboo to talk about. And there's something going on that is much deeper than meets the eye, and that is about not only irrevocable change, but also an opportunity to get things right. And there is currently this obsession, basically with all white people being convinced that they're racists, and all men being convinced that they're sexist, and all women being convinced that all men are male chauvinist pigs, blah, 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 blah. This is all nothing more than a costume. It is a scrim, and it is not talking about the real subject matter underneath it. And the real subject matter involves the transformation of our society under a number of different influences. One of them is peak oil. Another one of them is the completely overwhelming presence of digital technology, which has led to the experience of the bottom falling out. Now, the bottom fell out with a major conjunction in Capricorn in 1993. The similarity is that this Capricorn is involved, and the 1993 scenario was the conjunction of Uranus and Neptune, which took place all through 1993 and then expanded it kind of in a ripple effect out into the future. And that is the collapse of the solid version of society that we were accustomed to, where there were structures and things that were predictable and and dependable and stalwart institutions and all of that. And all of that is basically gone, and it has been replaced by this ethereal, kind of vapid, non-existent illusion of a world that is digital. And so we are seeing this happen faster and faster. And to me, the Pluto return represents not just the kind of culmination of this collapse of the structure and the whole notion of the American dream, let's say, as we were told that it was, but our opportunity to grab hold of this and to take the moment for what it is and do something affirmative and constructive to shift the direction of things. But we're being told over and over again that all we have to do is kind of impale ourselves on being a bunch of racists and sexists, and this is just the elites kind of spraying bug spray on us. This has got nothing to do with reality. It's got nothing to do with who people really are and how we really feel and what we really need and what we want and how we actually feel about each other. And we're being told over and over again that something other than who we are is that which is true. So, what's this got to do with the Aquarius full moon? Well, Pluto square the nodes. This is the moment. It'll last a little longer because both the nodes and Pluto are retrograde, but not that much longer to have it exactly partile, exactly splitting 1 degree. So for the moon itself, this moon is square Jupiter. That brings in kind of an expansive quality to it. It is both Sun and Moon square Jupiter. Not much going on out in that kind of early area of Scorpio at the moment. There's some minor planets out there, but I'm just focusing mostly on the major planets in this conversation. Also, we have I lost my train of thought here. There's one other. There is a perhaps a side note, perhaps a great opportunity. It came up a few times in the horoscope. Mars square Jupiter. So there is an opening there. Mars trine Jupiter. Take a look at it. 1343 on Mars in Virgo and 1346 Jupiter in Taurus. And so this is the kind of golden opportunity of this chart represented in that Mars trine to Jupiter, where the wisdom and the resources of that Jupiter can flow into a kind of the applied science realm of Virgo, represented in this case by Mars. Reminder, of course, that Venus is newly retrograde. That was just a few days ago. And I haven't talked about this enough, but there's one of those yod patterns going on right now, which I've been focusing on and off. And Venus has stationed retrograde in a real hotspot in the zodiac. And so this is going to contain events that get our attention over and over again. And Venus is an important planet in terms of the lunar node pattern because the south node is in Libra and Venus rules Libra. And so whatever element of the past is represented by the south node in Libra that we must deal with, because it's square Pluto, we have a second representation of dealing with and addressing certain very specific matters in the past because Venus rules the south node in this chart. As ever, plenty else going on. The general concept of the full moon is that there is a peak of energy and a peak of activity. There's a lot of people get insomnia during the full moon, and I think one of the most important things about the full moon is that there is an opportunity to resolve and move through loggerheads and deadlocks. Very important quality of the full moon. So gently nudge things into place and then use this kind of wave of energy to be able to get to kind of move through things that seem to be stuck. Okay, don't forget to tune into planetwaves.fm on Friday evening. That's where it is. This also comes out on Substack these days. If you're listening on one of the remote platforms, like through Podbean or one of those far-flung far-flung podcast services we're now distributing to. Welcome to Planet Waves. Check us out at planetwaves.net, planetwaves.tv, planetwaves.org, planetwaves.fm. Pretty much find some version of Planet Waves anywhere. Poke around, have some fun. Please buy something or subscribe to something. It's how I pay all these people who do all this good work. Once again, thanks for listening, and signing off from Kingston, New York at 1:17 p.m. on Thursday, 27 July. Lots of love, and bye for now.